Aboriginal peoples or tribes or whatever you consider American, Canadian, whatever, they all have the same issue.
Part 2 in a look at the Sinixt people and their fight to exist in Canada.
I know there's resources, but most of them are unknown and they're hard to get a hold of.
A march for suicide prevention in the far north.
11, 10, 9, 8, 7.
Down to the bone, Métis in Saskatchewan hold a neckbone eating contest. Good evening, I'm Savannah Kelly. The delegation of Inuit who traveled to France to meet with Justice Ministry officials did not get the answer they wanted today about extraditing Johannes Revoir, an Oblate priest facing a charge of sexual assault against an Inuit girl. Our Kathleen Martins is there and brings us this.
A disappointing meeting for the Nunavut Inuit delegation here in Paris today. When the group came out of the Ministry of Justice building behind me, you could see it written on their faces. They'd been told France will not extradite Johannes Revoir, the fugitive priest wanted on a sexual assault charge in Nunavut. The French officials said even if he is also a Canadian citizen, that is not a loophole. They will even not consider an exemption. Apparently that's extremely difficult to get. So now the delegation says it's really up to the Oblates to send Revoir back to Canada for the justice they want his alleged victims to have in Nunavut. I'm Kathleen Martins in Paris for APTN National News.
A group of Haudenosaunee members from the Six Nations of the Grand River were in a Cayuga court today. The hearing was sought by Foxgate Developments in Haldimand County to ask for a permanent injunction at 1492 Landback Lane. The disputed development site has been occupied for the past 2 years by a group of Haudenosaunee saying it is unceded Haudenosaunee territory. The only defendant in this case is Landback spokesperson Skylar Williams. In December 2021, he won the appeal against a permanent injunction.
I'm going to make sure that these lands, as well as any other along the Grand River, are able, at least, for my children to be able to fight for. Because you know what, we know that these fights aren't won and lost in even a generation. You know, these are incremental struggles, and those wins that we do have are incremental in nature. And so when we have a chance to have these wins, you know what, even being heard in here today is certainly a win. And so that we're going to keep pushing in every way we possibly can.
The alleged killers of a 25-year-old mother of 3 began a trial this week in Edmonton. Nature Duperon was kidnapped and horribly abused in 2019. APTN's Chris Stewart has more. This story contains graphic details that may disturb some viewers.
4 people were in Edmonton court on Monday for the murder of 25-year-old Nature Duperon, a mother of 3. She had recently moved to Edmonton from her home in Athabasca. Duperon was kidnapped in Edmonton in 2019 and left to die in the woods off of the Trans-Canada Highway near Hinton, Alberta. The autopsy showed that Duperon died from a fentanyl and methamphetamine overdose. According to a statement of facts by 2 defendants, Kayla Bezos and Grayson Ishapi, who pled guilty to second-degree murder. Nature Duperon was forced to do several drug deliveries. She was then handcuffed, injected with fentanyl, and beaten while being driven 3 hours to Hinton. In the woods, she was beaten again and force-fed fentanyl. Ishapi attempted to shoot her in the head, but the gun did not fire. Her body was found 2 weeks later when the car's driver, Brett Desjardins, cooperated with the RCMP and the prosecution and took them to her body in exchange for immunity. Tyra Muskego and Buddy Underwood are now facing a 4-week judge-alone trial for first-degree murder, robbery, and kidnapping. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
The Musqueam's RCMP in Alberta is seeking the public's help in apprehending 24-year-old Alexandra Rain. She's wanted for 5 charges, including kidnapping with a firearm, forcible confinement, and robbery. Richard Susay and Amy Okimau are currently in custody and have both been charged with several offenses relating to an August 13th incident where a Samson Cree Nation resident was held against her will. She managed to escape. Anyone with information can call the Musquecheese RCMP or Crime Stoppers. First Nations leadership spoke out last week at the James Smith Cree Nation about the need for more First Nations-run police services. Rick Riddell, who is a professor at the University of Regina and Law Foundation of Saskatchewan Chair of Police Studies, says Indigenous-run police services are vital, but there has been little movement in the last few years to create more.
Initially, in Canada right now, there's 37 or 38 what they call self-administered Indigenous police services. So they're totally run by the First Nation with just like a municipal police service in a community. So there's about 38 of these. The ability to have their own police services started in 1992, and but there hasn't been any new police services, these self-administered police services added since 2003. So it's been a while since we've added this sort of element of tribal policing.
We want to hear what you think about increasing the number of First Nations-run police services. Here's how you can continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Friday was World Suicide Awareness Day. No one in Canada is as keenly aware of suicide rates as Nunavut. Stats Canada says the suicide rate in Nunavut is 9 times the national average. On Saturday in Iqaluit, a small parade was held to try and help with a huge problem. This from Iqaluit.
Nunavut leads the country in suicide and has since the territory was founded in 1999. A suicide rate 9 times the national average. That's why this march happened over the weekend in Iqaluit, to remind Nunavummiut that the suicide crisis in Nunavut has never gone away. That's why Gloria Thompson is here. She's a student at Arctic College from Coral Harbour.
And here's Mina.
Say hi, Mina.
Say hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Everyone knows there's a problem. Solutions are hard to come by. Thompson thinks one thing can help.
I know there's resources, but most of them are unknown and they're hard to get a hold of.
Back in April, Nunavut Senator Dennis Patterson objected to another study on Nunavut's suicide crisis. Instead, he called for action, not academia, programming, just like Gloria's asking for. We asked her why she was participating in the march on her day off from school.
To embrace life and go for the walk.
There's no simple answer to Nunavut's high rate of suicide. Quality of life, addictions, intergenerational trauma all add to the ongoing challenge. But for a little bit on Saturday, Iqaluit residents were reminded by these marchers that the problem hasn't gone away. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
According to a new government survey, most people in the Yukon want a statutory holiday commemorating the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Close to 1,300 people responded to the survey. It found over 60% of people were in favor of a statutory holiday. The survey also noted employers were less likely to support the holiday at 39%, compared to 74% of non-employers. The only jurisdictions to officially recognize the stat holiday are PEI and the Northwest Territories. Consultations are also ongoing in Newfoundland. Speaking of holidays, Canadians will get a day to mourn Queen Elizabeth II.
We have also chosen to move forward with a federal holiday on Monday. We will be working with the provinces and the territories to try and see that we're aligned on this. There are still a few details to be worked out, but declaring an opportunity for Canadians to mourn on Monday is going to be important.
Next Monday, September 19th, the day of the Queen's funeral, will now be a federal holiday. A Mi'kmaq family wants answers after their mother died. While in care at the Cape Breton Regional Hospital, Angel Moore is working on this story.
I'm here in Unamagi, also known as Cape Breton. Behind me is the Cape Breton Regional Hospital, where Bridget Ann Denny of the Eskasoni First Nation unexpectedly died on the morning of January 20th, 2021. A shock to the family, and even more shocking was when the family found out from another patient Denny fell in the middle of the night. Denny's fall was not recorded in the hospital chart, so no autopsy was performed. An investigation by Nova Scotia Health found failure to provide adequate medical attention and made recommendations to the hospital. Denny's family says that is not enough. This story coming up on APTN National News.
Yesterday, we told you about American citizens who won a decade-long court fight for rights on their ancestral lands in southeastern BC. They're Sinixt. They live alongside Syilx, Secwepemc, and Ktunaxa in the region from Revelstoke, BC through the Slocan Valley. Colonization eventually pushed most of them into Washington state, and Canada declared them extinct in the 1950s. They want back on their lands, and a Supreme Court win in 2021 sets the stage for that, but not without hurdles, some within the Sinixt people themselves. Here's Melissa Ridgen with part 2 of the Sinixt, Back from Extinction.
The final answer and processing what I did is in the back of the room there. If I could have my daughter and my grandchildren stand up. Those are the reasons why I went up and I did what I did. For the fact that somebody had to throw out an anchor and get this started. And I elected myself. Thank you.
That's the American who came to Canada to shoot an elk in southeastern BC, setting off a rights fight the Sinixt eventually won. Because of it, Canada could soon get 3,500 new status Indians from a U.S. tribe where they were pushed generations ago, but now have rights to the land their ancestors once lived on.
It was the evidence of Richard and Andrea and Rick and Shelley. And the trial judge said, all of that evidence went in uncontradicted and uncontested. Shelley gave wonderful evidence about, being from the rocks and the water and being from that place, and that's what it meant to be Sinixt. And that's the evidence that won the case.
Evidence that proved they lived here long before an imaginary line divided Canada and the United States. The case was watched by many cross-border tribes.
Aboriginal peoples or tribes or whatever you consider it, American, Canadian, whatever, they all have the same issue. They've been pushed into a place. This is my place now, I'm pushed here, you're over here, you're pushed here. And so those are the next step moving forward, is working with those people on how we come together.
Can we expect to see more Sinixt who are living south of the 49th parallel coming up here, accessing this land in the immediate future?
I pray they do.
The case had 17 interveners, U.S. tribes who share that prayer.
For all of them, this decision has tremendous implications that over time will lead to us revisiting what that border means and the role it plays in our society. No, it's not just going to be there are Canadians on this side and there are Americans on this side. There is an Indigenous people who exist on both sides of that invisible line.
Sort of a contemporary version of a pit house.
Not everyone is waiting for them with open arms, though.
Become the site operator.
Marilyn James is an activist of mixed ancestry that includes Sinixt. She's a Canadian citizen living in BC at Valican, but also a Colville tribal member.
As is our way, in order to be here, you got to circle the pit house.
BC eventually appointed her caretaker of this site.
It's on your heart, eh? This heritage site is carbon dated at something like 3,500 years, give or take, a few hundred years.
She has a small but fierce network of non-Indigenous supporters who worry about Americans asserting their rights here.
Are you worried that that would be one more corporation, Indigenous corporation that would...
Oh, no doubt. If it were to go a certain way. Are there colonized people everywhere? Of course there are. Is there some highly dysfunctional, disengaged people, disengaged from culture, disengaged from practice, disengaged from even knowing? Like, there are Indian people out there just making up because they don't know.
While she worries about her relatives' intent, they say she's not even one of theirs. What are they saying you are?
I'm Chinese, and I am part Chinese. And they're saying I'm Okanagan. But if they're developing a confederacy where the Okanagans are all part of it, and the Secwepemc are part of it, and the Tana are part of it, how is it that I don't belong?
The scars left by colonization and infighting between modern and traditional Sinixt on either side of the border can be seen in a fight over baskets. Yes, the woven kind. These are on display at a museum in Rossland, a mining town in the area.
They were saddlebags.
Okay.
And so one survived. That one's at I think it's supposed to be like at 500 years. And the corn husk basket is something like at a couple hundred years. And all natural dyes and stuff.
And these are Sinixt from your mother?
From my mom, so there are family baskets.
This raises a really important point that we can talk about, and it's going to lead into the real star of the show, this basket that's sitting between Andrea and I.
At the homecoming celebration in Nelson, BC this summer, Colville Tribe's Shelley Boyd, a devout Sinixt advocate and community leader, delighted in unveiling this.
What we have not had were any baskets until the last little while, when 2 baskets have come from 2 Sinixt families.
I know there has been, a lot of dialogue in this community around Marilyn James's baskets, which are not Sinixt baskets.
Where's the basket?
I have pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to see?
Sure.
Here's the basket. And I can show you a close-up of it, too.
It's the same exact basket.
On top of the infighting and rejection by the Colville tribe, the BC government has now terminated its agreement with James to caretake Valakin. So she says she's reoccupying this occupation site.
Well, they're trying to run me out of here now.
Why?
Okanagan Nation Alliance and Colville tribe have been complaining to the ministry, and I informed Roger Tinney that he could come and arrest me if he wanted to. I'm not going.
Yeah.
I was responsible for bringing those first 6 back, and the rest of them that are up there, I have responsibility. I can't just bring them here, rebury them. Why do you think we had to go get them in the first place? Because the ministry dug them up and hauled them off. You think I'm going to trust the ministry to them again?
APTN happened to be at Valakin when Rick Desautels and his family came by to pay their respects to ancestors. Neither spoke to each other.
He didn't even talk to me. I see people who call themselves traditional who make Cree or Lakota regalia, dance to Cree songs. What about that is us?
Whatever the future holds, they'll need to put aside differences and apply to the government to be delisted as extinct. That means they need to work together and form a representative body to deal with the Crown.
We need to put on that federal registry that we are a Canadian tribe.
Provincial officials and leaders from other First Nations in southeastern BC attended the homecoming in Nelson, shaking hands and welcoming Sinixt. But it remains to be seen how they'll feel when Sinixt start asserting rights in the region and wanting a land base.
I appreciate everyone who has come. Lim Lim.
Melissa Ridgen, APTN National News in the Slocan Valley, British Columbia.
We need to take one more short break. When we come back, bad to the bone. A neckbone eating contest in Saskatchewan captivates a crowd.
11, 10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Currently underway is the 75th anniversary of the Canadian Rangers expedition. This was day 4, leaving Buckhorn en route to Nassau Mills through the Trent-Severn waterway. Thanks for the regular updates, Laura. If you want a chance to be our next photo of the day, send your photos by email to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, we've got 15 degrees and showers in St. John's. Halifax, 25 degrees and rain there as well. Kuujjuaq, 12 degrees and sunshine, little bit of cloud. Nain, 11 degrees and rain. Val-d'Or, 13 degrees and showers there. Montreal, 20 degrees and rain as well. In Toronto, we got 25 degrees, mix of sun and cloud. Peterborough, 22 degrees and rain. Big Trout Lake, 16 degrees, sunshine there. Timmins, mix of sun and cloud, 14 degrees. Churchill, sunny and 16 degrees. Norway House, 15 degrees and showers. Gimli, 18 degrees, mix of sun and cloud, and rain and 17 degrees in Dauphin. Regina, 15 degrees and rain there. North Battleford, sunshine, 20 degrees. Stony Rapids, 18 degrees, we have showers there. Meadow Lake, 22 degrees, mostly sunny. 21 degrees and sunshine in high level. Sun in Fort McMurray as well with 20 degrees. Calgary, 19 degrees and rain. Edmonton, sunny, 22 degrees. Campbell River, mostly sunny, 21 degrees. Bella Coola, mostly cloudy, 20 degrees. Fort Nelson, sunshine and 20. Smithers, 21 degrees, sunshine there as well. Mayo, 14 degrees and some showers. Watson Lake is expected to get some sunshine, 17 degrees. Yellowknife, 17 degrees, mostly sunny there. And Wrigley is going to see some showers, but 20 degrees there. Sax Harbor, 1 degree, some snow expected there. Colville Lake, 7 degrees and showers. Baker Lake, 10 degrees, mostly sunny there. And Chesterfield, 8 degrees, mostly cloudy. Clyde River, 4 degrees and a little bit of snow expected. And Agulik, mostly cloudy with a little bit of sunshine, 6 degrees. The 5th annual Métis Cultural Days was held in Saskatoon this weekend, and one of the biggest highlights was the neckbone eating contest.
11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
All the contestants chomped down as the judges looked on and checked to make sure there was no meat left on the bones. The contestants gave it their best shot, but it was Police Chief Troy Cooper who ate his way to victory. This was his 3rd time winning the title. Well, I've heard of hot dog eating contests, but that one is a new one. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News. For news anytime, visit our website at aptnnews.ca. I'm Savannah Kelly. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night.